everybody. I'm Captain Foley, and I'm joined by...
I'm Robert Burnett,
Yeah.
the writer, director, and editor of Free Enterprise.
One of my all-time favorite movies, and not a lot of people have heard of it, which is really bothers me. So
Sad.
When I had the opportunity to sit down with Rob and talk about Free Enterprise with all of you guys, just so you guys could get a little taste of what it might be like to watch it, because you really need to, I took the opportunity, and here I am. So,
well, it's a pleasure to speak with you. By the way, if you want to use clips from the movie, I give you permission.
I always use a stunt double, except in love scenes. I insist on doing those myself.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so tell us a little bit about Free Enterprise. How to get started and what's it about?
Well, Free Enterprise was basically a story of my friend Mark Altman and I. It's a fictionalized version of us and our lives in the mid-90s. And I had met Mark as a result of Star Trek. I was a huge fan of his because he wrote for Cinefantastic. He wrote these 100-page articles about Next Generation. I was a huge fan. I got some of his books. And I was working at a company called Full Moon Entertainment, or Full Eclipse in the movie. Mm-hmm. And we had an opportunity to meet because his magazine, Sci-Fi Universe, was sponsoring a screening of one of our movies, Oblivion, that George Takei was in, the first Cowboys and Aliens movie. And we just became fast friends. And we started doing everything together. He threw like conventions in a box for creation, and we just started making stuff. And then eventually we decided the magazine he wrote or worked for was sold out from under him. And I said, well, let's go make movies together. And we first started writing a supernatural thriller that wasn't working so well. And then one day he calls me up and he reads me a scene of my own life. I told him when I wore a Star Trek uniform to school, Star Trek the Motion Picture opened, and I got beat up. I got taken into the girls' bathroom and beat up. And he wrote this same scene, but in the scene he wrote, when I get beat up, I pass out and I have a vision of William Shatner, who tells me what I should do to sort of kick the bully's ass and sort of triumph in the end.
He said that Han Solo was cooler than Captain Kirk.
Kick the little fucker's ass.
And I read this scene, I'm like, this is hilarious, dude. It's way better than the movie that the supernatural thriller we're trying to write.
Was that the Brady Killer?
No, that was not. That was a conceit of the movie. Actually, the movie we were writing I wanted it to be the Jewish Exorcist. It was called Day of Atonement. It's too late to be forgiven. And it was just not working at all. And then we started writing the script. Mark banged out like a 150-page draft, sort of words on paper. Then he gave it back to me, and I rewrote it. And then I gave it back to him, and we sort of ping-ponged the script for a while until we sat down in a room together and finished it together. Mm. So
one of the things I've always wondered is how fictionalized is it? Like, are they all based on things that actually happened?
Yes.
Or?
Pretty much everything in the movie has some basis in fact. Because the more factual stuff we put in it, the funnier it sort of became.
Yeah. And
it was, I was a little crazy in my younger days in LA. The first 10 years I lived in LA was, there was lots of girls and working in the film business. Living in LA when you were in your 20s, everything was possible. And you never knew what was going to happen on a daily basis. So there was a lot of craziness that went on. Because I wanted to do two things. I wanted to meet girls and I wanted to make movies. And that was it. And I think Free Enterprise sort of reflects that. But it was good. And Mark was much more serious than I was. He was always running things. He was his own publisher. He was an agent. So he was the more responsible one of the two of us.
Mm-hmm. And he had a cameo in the movie playing basketball.
Yes, he plays Cousin Ira.
Yes.
And yes, and he's in the but like Moaning Girl. Like there was a time when this girl would call up and fake an orgasm on Mark's answering machine. He never knew who that was.
That was one of my questions actually.
Yeah, so we you got to put that in the movie. And we made it this kind of recurring motif. And then of course all of our friends, when they turned 30, would get a Logan's Run movie poster. Mm-hmm. So we had to put a Logan's Run dream sequence in the movie. And it's funny because as we move further and further away, people are like,
But Robert, we're the only ones that know what Logan's Run even is.
It's becoming more true every year. But they're going to remake it soon. Then we're going to seem like we're prophets. Like, oh, we were there.
Exactly.
We were, if we made Zardoz and Logan's Run, I mean, those are the touchstones. We didn't get any Zardoz references in Free Enterprise, but if we ever do a sequel, I want a floating head in it somewhere.
That's cool.
I want to have a Zardoz dream.
Now, one of the things I noticed when I first came into your office was the Hallmark Enterprise ornament.
Yes.
And it plays an important role in the movie. But I had to get a picture of Rob with it because you got to watch the movie to figure it out. But tell me a little about that story and how.
Well, I was dating this girl. Her name was Trisha Bowman. Patricia Lynn Bowman, actually.
You even used her real name in the movie.
We used her real name in the movie. Trisha. We didn't change anyone's names. And it was funny because I wrote it that way, and then we just never thought about changing them back to like some fictitious name. But her mother had given me that Christmas ornament when it first came out, when the Hallmark Christmas ornaments were new. It was the first, It was the Enterprise. Not a very accurate depiction of the Enterprise. But it was kind of neat. It lit up, whatever. And so when this girl broke up with me, she actually took that ornament back. And I was very upset by this because it had become valuable and the Hallmark ornaments were hard to get. And I'm like, but why would you do that? Like, I like that ornament. Why would you? It always stuck with me that somebody actually wanted, like, if it didn't work out between us, I know, I was flaky, whatever, but she wanted to hurt me. And that was something that always sort of stuck with me. So I put it in the movie. I thought that was kind of funny and weird. It was a weird thing. Like, someone's going to get upset about a Hallmark Christmas ornament? Yes, I did. And so that was sort of funny. And what was really funny was I never got another one until we made the movie. So we had to buy one, and they were like hundreds of dollars,
It was like $400 back then.
Yeah, it was like $400, and they've gone down in price, though.
They have. They're about $200 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we bought one for the movie, and I thought, fuck, I get to keep this. I'm finally going to have my... And then at the end, Mark comes up to me, my co-writer and producer, he goes, it'd be a really nice gesture if you gave that Hallmark Christmas ornament to our financier, Mark Gottwald. I think he would really like that. I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I saw his point, and I'm like, okay. So I sort of reluctantly handed it over and did not have a Christmas ornament for 17 years until my birthday this year. My girlfriend Elizabeth gave me the Star Trek Christmas ornament that I haven't had since 1993.
That's excellent. And then we show up
this
year, and it's the first thing I see in your... Well, not the first thing.
Right,
got
but
so
you
much
see
stuff.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to call that out. So, you say it was all based on real life events, basically. How real was Claire?
Okay, Claire was pretty fictitious.
Yeah.
I had met a girl at the San Diego Comic-Con, and I had dated her. Her name's Tanya Brinza. And I'm still friends with her. And she was fantastic. And she was this sassy, just hot, sexy woman that I was standing at Comic-Con in 1994, and I was waiting to film my boss, Charlie Band, from Full Moon Entertainment. And I had a really nice camera. It was like a really professional camera. Not like a camcorder, but and this girl, I hear behind me, this girl goes, "So, what's the deal?" I turn around, there's this vision of loveliness, and I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, you've obviously got a pretty impressive camera on your shoulder, but you're pointing it at nothing. What's the deal?" And I was smitten right away. And the idea of meeting a beautiful, hot girl. See, here's the thing. The world has completely changed now. Now you go to Comic-Con, half the Comic-Con is beautiful women cosplaying in the skimpiest outfits you'll ever see. But back in the early 90s, the geek singularity had not hit. Yeah. The rise of gamers, girl gamers, and anime was just on the uptick. So it was very different back then. So finding a very hot chick at a convention, and she was talking to you first, was definitely a rare occurrence.
That's awesome.
So
as I kind of started out with, this movie's not very well known.
Unfortunately not.
And why is that? We've had this discussion before, and you gave me your thoughts on that.
Well, it was interesting because, first of all, it didn't get a very big release. And it's never had... It came out from a very small company, and it didn't have a big video release. It didn't have a big theatrical release, and it hasn't really been on cable that much. Because Shatner, it predated Shatner becoming Denny Crane. And he won 2 Emmy Awards, one on The Practice and one on Boston Legal. And I think if it had come out, and also the geek culture that we were documenting hadn't hit. It came out in 1999, so If it came out 4 or 5 years later, it would have been a whole different story.
So you were cool before cool was cool.
In a way, where I don't know if we were cool, but the idea of the cool geek. I mean, it's so funny now. The whole world is, and we were such a small microcosm of these. We called ourselves hipster geeks. We were probably just nerds and whatever. But in our own minds, because we did go. We all had relationships with girls. We were working in Hollywood. I mean, we did have a pretty good. Most of us had pretty good careers, and so it was good. But we were also really goofy. Like every month, we'd pile into a car and we'd drive an hour and a half to go to Ken Crane's Laserdisc in Westminster. We'd spend all of our money on Laserdiscs and come back. And it was
stop at Toys R Us on the way.
And we'd always stop at Toys R Us, absolutely. Like every week.
Yeah.
When they brought back the Star Wars 12-inch action figures, and every different store had different, or the Playmates 8-inch figures.
Yeah.
You'd have to go to KB Toys to get the Amok Time figures or the Mirror figures. I mean, it was a big deal finding those action figures.
All right, well, thank you very much, Rob. It was great talking to you about this. If you guys love geek culture, which you obviously should, check out Free Enterprise. If you love William Shatner, it's one of his best acting performances.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Anyway, great movie, and you've heard the dirt on it, so thank you guys for joining us, and thank you, Rob. It was
Well, thanks for Captain. It's good to be here.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.